Hello, trading has closed on January 16th, 2025. As always, we'll start with our disclaimer. We'll go over our calls and then make our predictions. This is my trading plan for Friday. Friday is the 17th of January 2025. Please remember my plan can change. My plan can be completely wrong. Trade at your own risk. Also, evening futures haven't opened yet. I don't know what's going to happen. There might be some kind of crazy opening which is going to influence what I might have said, but I'm just going to go ahead and make it without knowing how futures open. Look for the pattern with the early low. That's this. Tomorrow has the early high. We said unless we gapped up smartly, we had a target of 59.3491. We gapped up smartly, so that according to the rules, the call's killed before the open. This price remains, but not the time. That doesn't mean it won't print today, it just means I'm predicting it prints, but not saying, well, it printed here, so even though it didn't have to print today, it did, and there's support under that price. We retested it here, undercut it, and then we started to rally with a new higher target, 59.5528. All we had to do to show this was a 2B bottom, a Trader Vic 2B bottom, which would be a lower price, which didn't stick, would be to rally and overtake this high where there was a MEJT target. We rallied, we couldn't quite get it, and then we retested support for the third time. Well, ideally, one test of support's all you get. I'll put up with two. You start to test support the third time. It doesn't guarantee that support's going to break, but it sure makes it a lot more likely. There really is no reason to retest support here if you were going to go higher. Now again, there's a wall into the close. That's often a false move. There's a higher target. I don't know how we'll open tomorrow. Nothing really stops us from capping up, overtaking all these highs and continuing higher. But here was this huge rally yesterday. You want to see confirmation. Trading past the high is confirmation, but that's a rejection of the high when you close under multiple prior highs. Now, the rejection needs confirmation too. You have to get confirmation by continuing lower. And that hasn't happened yet, but that's not a healthy pattern. Well, early on we got an ultimate buy and an ultimate sell in the morning in the same pattern. It tells us we'll trade under this line, which will be a false move. It tells us we'll trade over this line, which will be a false move. And when lunchtime comes around, you're going to be back within the other lines, and that's what happened. MEJT now says this move is false, gives us a target of 59.5528. If we don't gap down smartly, that's the call, but let's not forget, if this is a major top, and if this doesn't hold, it's going to be a major top, MEJT will almost always leave a failed target. So I don't have a lot of confidence in that one printing, but that could all change at tomorrow's open. We're still stalling right here at the 50-day moving average. This is just a reminder of what we said. We were hoping the high was going to hold. Well, the high didn't hold, but it printed and promptly got rejected. It's not that different. We stopped right at this trend line. You connect all these little things here, and these things, and here. We stopped right there. You all know the rules. You gap over the line or the line wins. Which means if we don't gap over this line, any move over it isn't going to stick. So we don't know how it'll open tomorrow. For all I know, we'll open 100 points higher. I have no way of knowing. But as of right now, we have a strong rally, to resistance, but not through it, a rejection of the break. But don't forget, tomorrow's open can substitute for today's close, so we can gap up here and set everything right. And when you have a head and shoulders consolidation with a false break, the move has the potential but not the obligation to go higher in a straight line. So once again, if you're a bull, you want to gap up. You want to gap up and go over this high. And if we do that, it's all systems go to break out to a new high as a likely target. But if we don't do that, if we can't do that, we're stopping right here with an unsustainable move, and that would be trouble. This was the pattern we showed yesterday. I'm not convinced that little blip up changes the count. We also have a stilt. Here's a diamond. It's kind of twisted, but that's par for the course. Here's the bottom of the diamond, top of the diamond. This doesn't have to go to completion. But if there is a gap down, it commonly will go to completion, and completion is a stilt down back to the origin of the left stilt. Now again, it doesn't have to play out, but if we gap down, that's a common place for it to stop, and then this counts a valid count, and we're going to probably to 56.42 or some other place a lot lower. So if, and that's if in capital letters, we gap down tomorrow, that still is a valid count. And if we gap up like this, we could still recover. So I think tomorrow's open is going to be critical. Now again, tomorrow's open can substitute for today's close. So we gap up here, fine, all systems go. It's entirely possible. I'm not saying it's not. But as of right now, not knowing how I'll open tomorrow, that's a rejection of the break to new highs. It still needs confirmation by continuing down, but it puts the burden of proof on the bulls. We have to use our mixed signals rules. Commonest thing is a gap and prompt move outside today's range. Friday's pattern has a early high regardless of where we open. Typically it's a bullish day with a final hour high. Failure is a straight line drop. Signals are mixed. It is bullish. There's a higher target and there's a wall into the close. That means panic selling, unless it's reversed immediately. Correction. If it is reversed immediately, it means panic selling. If it's confirmed, then the people who are selling know what they were doing. It is bearish. A move to a new recovery high was followed by a close under multiple prior highs. We've rallied to a significant trend line without breaking through. We're quite likely to gap sharply at tomorrow's open. Bulls need to gap over today's high and maintain that gap to keep the rally going. And if they do that, the pattern still has the potential, not the obligation, but the potential to rally in the straight line to a new all-time high. But if we gap down sharply, so if that occurs, it gives credibility to the wave count we showed yesterday. A diamond on stilts pattern isn't obligated to go to completion, but it frequently will, and that targets the reversal of all of yesterday's gains in fairly short order. So it's going to be a critical open tomorrow. Before I sound too negative, nothing stops us from gapping up over these highs and putting everything back in the right order. That's an entirely possible outcome. But if we don't do that, we're going to probably drop and most likely gap down and drop in big. And I don't like to guess on these things. But it looks like we're having a big move tomorrow. And I don't like the fact that we retested this line so many times. It, in spite of the higher target, it makes me very leery that the bulls are going to fail right at resistance. But I'm not putting any money on it until I see how I open. And that's today's call.